Yeah, one of the big trends we're seeing in 2025 and 2026 is advertisers shifting from an audience-only strategy to one that's a blend of both audience and context. And I think that blend is pretty important. I think, when we talk about connected TV, we talk about the power that it has to blend the best of television, which is, like live sports, premium content, cultural zeitgeist, with the best of digital in addressability and personalization. And what's been missing in the last decade or so in streaming is real visibility from an advertiser perspective in terms of where they're running their ads in streaming. And so what I'm excited about is in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen publishers start to get a little bit more open about sharing data about what content consumers are streaming on their platforms. We've seen partners like Gracenote start to aggregate some of that content together and share it with advertisers. And then I think especially in the last year, we've seen the power of AI in platforms like MiQ Sigma to be able to take that data in, ingest it, make sense of it, and help advertisers plan better so that they're not just reaching their audience, they're also finding them in areas that are relevant to them.
And when identity-based targeting hits its limits, how is contextual metadata helping brands still achieve scale and performance?
I don't want to discount the identity side. Identity has always been one of the strengths of connected TV, especially over other forms of video advertising. And so that piece is massively important. I think what the contextual data starts to add to that picture is helping advertisers not just reach their target consumer, but reach them in environments where they're ready, relevant, for the advertising message the advertiser is trying to put out there. Good example is if you're let's say you're a CPG advertiser, right? And you want to reach brand loyalists, and you've got different ad opportunities in streaming to reach them, whether that's when they're with their family watching a comedy special, or they're watching a true crime documentary. Those are fundamentally two very different brand experiences, right? And so you want to make sure you're accounting for that experience and the mindset that the audience is in, and tailoring your messaging or tailoring your ad creative to that mindset that the audience has at that time. So I think that's really the power. What we've seen is when brands are able to do that right, as in match their ad creative to the type of content that the audience is watching, brand recall, ad recall and brand favorability go up massively at that time. And so I think that's the opportunity really for advertisers.
MiQ is known for activation. How are you turning program level insights into measurable real world outcomes for advertisers?
I think this is one of the things that media companies have gotten wrong in the last 10 years, which is there's an assumption that you can just deliver high quality media impressions for advertisers, and that's enough. I just think in a world that's dominated by search and social, advertisers are more and more demanding media companies give them more from the activity that they're delivering. So I think what that means for us is delivering data back to advertisers that makes them smarter about the campaigns that they're running, whether that's pre-campaign before they launch or kind of mid or post-campaign, and then using that data to kind of drive outcomes. So the way we've done that at MiQ is we launched our Sigma platform last year. Part of that platform is a TV intelligence planning suite. And what that suite allows an advertiser to do is go in, select their audience using a ton of different data signals to do that, but then really dive in and go which media channels, streaming, YouTube, even social video, that audience is consuming. And then within those, what is the right content to reach that audience? So I think the value for a media organization is how do you make an advertiser smarter with all of the data that they're sitting on? And so I'm excited that more and more companies are starting to lean into that.
How does better visibility into content help buyers balance brand safety with showing up in the moments that really matter?
Yeah, so what's interesting is TV has always been, relative to all the other media opportunities out there, a pretty brand safe medium. As in, it has a curation built into the ecosystem that keeps the breadth of content pretty high quality. So when we talk to advertisers, we typically talk about brand suitability when it comes to sort of contextual relevance. And so it's really about, is the content that you're advertising against relevant, suitable for the message that you're trying to display to an audience? A good example of that is, let's say you're a sports apparel brand like a Nike, for example. You're just going to get better performance when your ad runs against content that is sports adjacent, right? So either a live soccer match or a sports reel. So I think adjacency is sort of what we talk about on one end. The other thing that we tend to talk a lot about now, and this is where AI really comes in, is starting to scan the actual content to figure out what are the themes that are emerging in the content. So is this a moment of resilience, for example? And so if you're a Nike and your ad messaging really resonates towards that resilience moment, then you want to find that in the content itself and try to own that moment. And so those are more the ways that we're trying to talk about content relevancy to advertisers.
Where does AI come into this picture?
Yeah, so I mean, the interesting thing about streaming is where it's different from linear television. You're no longer looking at a couple hundred channels where your audience might be watching and a half dozen day parts in order to make an advertising decision. You're talking about millions of individual pieces of content that an audience could be watching at any given time. And so as an advertiser, that's just such a different challenge when it comes to media planning, right? And so, there's great opportunities on the content side, but really the only way an advertiser can at scale take advantage of those is by leveraging the power of AI, right? So I think for us, it's an area that we've invested a lot in over the last couple of years. Last year we launched a trading agent that sits on top of ad buying platforms to help advertisers sort of make those decisions at scale. This year what we're excited about is moving more into the planning sphere and helping surface those insights in planning AI tech for advertisers to help sort of make sense of all the signals that are out there.